Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to the Renaissance Yorkshireman podcast. Today, I'd like to talk to you about one particular political solution to some of the problems with representative democracy, and that is vote for Ron, sometimes called NOTA. But before I get into that, I'd like to discuss a little bit about voting patterns from the United Kingdom. So, from 1922 until 1997, turnout in every election in the United Kingdom was greater than 70%. And in the early 1950s, for two general elections, it was actually greater than 80%. However, this has changed. In the 2001 general election, voter turnout was 59%, so less than 6 in every 10 people actually got up and voted. And since then, from the 2005 until the 2019 general election, voter turnout has been 60-odd% in every single election. That means more than 30% of people are not voting. So for the last more than 20 years, turnout has been about 2/3 of the voting population. That is 1/3 of people can't be bothered to turn up and vote. This is a representative democracy? I think not. There are many possible reasons why people choose to not vote. One of them is that they don't think the candidates standing are worth voting for. Now, unfortunately, in many cases, they are in fact correct. So what can we do about this? Vote for Ron. Reopen nominations. Sometimes it's called NOTA, none of the above. Let's look at one possible scenario. When I voted in the 2015 election in the United Kingdom in the city of York, there were 6 candidates standing. Labour, Conservative, Liberal Democrat, Yorkshire First, Green Party and Trade Union and Socialist Coalition. There was no option of reopen nominations. In my proposal, there would have been 7 boxes, not 6, and the final one would have been reopen nominations. If you feel that none of the candidates represents your views enough, and of course, when you're voting for someone, you don't need to agree with them on everything, but they have to represent your views to quite a reasonable degree, or else why bother voting for them? There should have been a 7th category, reopen nominations. For anybody who feels that their views are not adequately represented by any of the candidates, they vote for Ron. What does this mean in practice? Well, if Ron gets more votes than anyone else, no candidate is elected, and either the position remains vacant or someone is selected some other manner and they may or may not have the full powers that an elected representative would have, or a new election is held with different candidates. Here's my proposal. First of all, there is always the option of vote for Ron on every single ballot paper for local elections, for general elections, for regional elections, for European elections. Doesn't matter the type of election, there should always be the option of reopen nominations. My second proposal is this. People are required to vote, and if they choose not to vote, there is a small fine. Could be an hour of pay, 2 hours of pay, no more than half a day's pay. So for someone who's earning minimum wage, let's say 2 hours of pay, that would be a £17 fine. Not very much, but enough to make them be bothered to go and vote. But it may be that they turn up and vote and think, I don't like any of these candidates. They can then vote for Ron. That will be counted as a vote, and if Ron wins, there is no legitimacy of the election and no one is elected. Why are these changes necessary and what does it mean in practice? Well, in the first instance, as things stand, MPs know that someone must be elected in their seat. on a certain level, this means they have less incentive to actually represent the people and more incentive to be corrupt and represent themselves and the interests of a small elite. If they know that the possibility exists that no one is elected to that seat, then that gives them a much higher incentive to be a quality candidate and to, I don't know, actually represent the people of their constituency in an honest and transparent manner. Shocking, I know, but there we are. Some people may object to paying a fine for not voting. In my opinion, if you choose to live under the control of the state, and in my post-capitalist analysis, I'm assuming that human beings do have the right to live outside of the control of the state, so they could go and live in a non-state form. I think it's a reasonable expectation that if you are a citizen of a state and you are asked to vote in a general election once every 5 years, let's say, and locally once a year, I think it's a reasonable expectation to turn up and put a cross on a ballot paper and put it in a box. Of course, you may just opt to pay the fine, or you could turn up and spoil your ballot paper. So even when the option of run exists on the ballot paper, you still have the option of spoiling your ballot, and that would also be counted. This, in my view, is not only an extremely simple thing to do, but it is absolutely necessary if we have any intention of reducing corruption and having a more open and transparent system of representative democracy. It has had some successes, representative democracy, but yet it has been found wanting on many occasions. However, the solutions to making it much better are actually quite simple, and Vote for Ron is absolutely necessary as a reform to make representative democracy a substantially better system. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in my next video. Peace.